Hey, Creating Maven. I'm Joy Spencer, your Reframe specialist, with one important message. Your real work, it's not your job or your career. Your real work is what you create. And what you create is what sets you apart and makes you incomparable. It's your legacy. I'm here to show you a whole new way of working so you can create with your gifts, make a unique contribution, and finally get paid to be yourself. This is Reframe to Create.
I want you to picture this. A young girl walking along the beach with a blue plastic bucket. She loves the beach and is so excited to enjoy the sand, the seashells, and the waves. Because she loves the ocean so much, she starts to think, how can I take it home with me? Then she steps into the water, bends down, and scoops up as much of the water as she can get into her plastic bucket. Oh man, this isn't gonna be enough. One bucket won't be enough. So she runs back to where her parents are sitting and grabs the other two buckets of her younger brother and sister and dashes back to the ocean to scoop up more water. But still, this isn't enough. So she runs back again to get her parents' buckets, and they're just like, at this point, staring at her. And she fills up those buckets, but still she hasn't captured the entire ocean. And that's when she bursts into inconsolable tears. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't have enough buckets. I can't scoop up the whole ocean. And she slinks back to her parents, head bowed, dragging the buckets. And her parents are really intrigued right now. Like, honey, what in the world are you doing? I'm trying to capture the ocean so I can take it home with me, but I don't have enough buckets. Oh, honey, you'll never have enough buckets to capture the ocean. And besides, the ocean's not meant to be captured. It's meant for you and all the fish to swim in and enjoy in all of its fullness, wherever it is and wherever it goes. The little girl wipes her tears and smiles. Phew, she says, and they all came in for a warm hug. Are you like this little girl? Are you trying to fit the ocean into a little bucket? You might think, no, I'm not. First of all, I'm not a little girl, and I don't know what you're talking about, but I assure you, you are. You're doing it when it comes to your job. And it's why you're in and out of frustration cycles with it. You're trying to do the impossible. You're trying to scoop up the ocean with your tiny bucket. What do I mean? If you've been with Reframe to Create for any amount of time, or if you've listened to the podcast intro, if you listen to the intro at the start of this episode, then you've heard me say this before. Your work is not your job or your career. Your work is what you create. But what am I talking about when I say this? And why is it so important? And what has it got to do with you and your job frustration? This is what I want to get into today, because I feel like I skirt over it a lot, but I really want to dig deep and really want to get this into your head. If you notice, I separate the two ideas. Your work on one side and your job on the other. They're not the same. The dictionary definition of a job is a paid position of regular employment. This begs a question. Employment by who? Someone necessarily owns this job that you're working in. So who owns it? Well, it could be an organization, a business, even, check this out, it could even be a business that you yourself own. Yes, you yourself, you could own a business. Your business could be a job that you own. Don't believe me? Check out E-Myths Revisited by Michael Gerber, and he'll tell you all about that. The dictionary definition of a career is an occupation undertaken for a significant period of a person's life and with opportunities for progress. A career is probably something you own more than your job, but the progress this definition speaks of is often within the confines of a field. So there is some sort of semi-prescribed path. Now, the dictionary definition of work is different, and it's this: activity involving mental or physical effort done in order to achieve a purpose or result. I love that. It's got so many words in there that I love. What stands out is that it's activity and to achieve a purpose. The beautiful thing about this definition of work is that activity makes you wonder, well, who is doing the activity? And more importantly, who owns the activity? Well, unlike with a job that someone else may own, you own this. You always own this. You always own your own work. It's always yours because it's always coming from you and your effort. So the main contrast between these two is that a job or job position belongs to an organization, but your work always belongs to you. But what is the nature, the real essence of this work that I'm talking about? What am I getting at when I say real work? Couldn't it be tasks that you knock out on a job that are prescribed by the job? Isn't it the activity that you engage in as part of your career that you developed over the years through your many certifications and degrees? To me, it can't be this because these things are too temporary and too small. And remember, part of the definition of work includes the word purpose. And that sounds pretty big. Ocean size big. And it is. Why are we here with the specific gifts that we have if it's not to create with them and offer them in service? This is our real work. This is ocean size work. To discover, develop, create with, and offer our gifts and service. So what is your job or your career in this equation? They are tiny and temporary buckets. For a time, you may do some of your work in them, but you should never, ever be under the illusion that these two things are one and the same, and that your job can contain all the vastness that is your purposeful work. Your real work is always much bigger than any job or career you have temporarily taken up. Your real work is always going to be too big for your job. Always. Not realizing this and trying to scoop up the sum totality of your understanding of what your work is and trying to stuff it into your understanding of your job is what feels frustrating, limiting, and just off. It's never going to fit. Ever been traveling somewhere and stuffed too many things into your bag and the zipper broke? Well, that's you with your job trying to stuff your purpose and all of what you have to offer creatively into that space and watching it die there because our jobs just can't fully handle and nourish the fullness of our real work. And it's okay. It's okay. Accept this so you can move on and get things right. So what are some examples of this real work? How can you know that you're doing it? Well, it's as varied and vast and unique as any given person in the world. Some people are healers, physical, mental, or emotional. They may spend their lives in any one of the healing professions or just be that person of comfort and solace in their families and community. Some people are nourishers and will be the ones you can go to for an amazing meal, whether that be a physical, mental, or emotional meal. It really makes me think of a different time and a different way of thinking of professions. Just the other day, I was talking about this very idea with my friend C.R.E.A.T.E, who you'll remember from when she stopped by to chat with us on episode 34, Feeling Your Way to Your Next Job. And I was also talking about it with my other friend, EJ, who will be joining us in a couple of episodes. And what I got from dissecting this whole idea with them in my chats with them was just how much we've come to consider work as valid only in the context of an organization with a job that has a position, instead of work being this broad thing of making a meaningful contribution in society. It's limited to the idea of going to work for someone or having a job. This is probably a knowledge worker in the knowledge economy issue more than any other type of work in other parts of the economy. When your work is not primarily around making, creating, or building things, but instead is about using your thoughts and your mind in virtual spaces and documents, it can get dicey to sort of like grab a hold of this concept and broader understanding of meaningful work that exists outside of a job. It's not like different parts of the economy, or maybe in the old days, whatever that is, when maybe you were part of a community and your family was known as fishermen or hunters or farmers or whatever. The work you did in maybe in that context was making a contribution and using your gifts and skills in that way, and you were plugged into the economy directly. You didn't need an organization or a job or a career in the way that we understand it now as a proxy through which the idea that you were doing work was finally validated. Your work wasn't somewhere you went necessarily. It was something you did, and it was something also of a bit of who you were. It was a unique contribution you made directly to society that you could touch, feel, taste, and that had direct connection and impact. And maybe I'm romanticizing and oversimplifying things, but I hope you get the point I'm trying to make. Work and jobs have now become so synonymously wedded in our minds, we don't realize that we think they are the same thing when they're not. And this thinking limits us and boxes our understanding of work into the tight spaces, literally, of our cubicles. And this can't be right. It can't be possible that your purpose is that you were born to do a job that was created or cooked up in an HR department. It can't be, because your purpose predates and is bigger than jobs in companies or organizations. You have a mission. Mission and purpose are bigger than jobs or careers. There are so many people who are living and building toward purpose and mission, and they're doing it outside the context of a job. You know many people who are living very purposeful lives and are making meaningful, purposeful contributions. Just think of so many stay-at-home moms, and they're doing meaningful work, but it's not in the context of a job. Don't get me wrong. A job may be a vehicle that lets you live out your purpose for a time, but it's always just that, a vehicle, not the whole thing. As I've said, your work is as big as the ocean. It will never fit into your job, any job at all. So this is how I want you to think about your work from now on, as all the ways you bring your unique contribution forth and into life, and all the ways you can do it that can be in, but are not limited to or defined by the parameters of a job or a career. Now that you've gotten that reframe and are settled in on it, what can you do with it? What can you do with this idea, and how can it help you to reshape how you do your real work? Well, I can tell you what I hope this does for you. I hope it sets you off on a path to discover, if you haven't already done so, what you are uniquely suited to create. If you already know, then it's time to double down and restructure and reorient your life in such a way that creating is a priority and not a throwaway thing. I can tell you what this has looked like for me. Even though I started Reframe to create while working full-time in one job, getting this very same reframe for myself helped me to understand work and my work more broadly than any given job, and it's helped me to streamline my work in my existing role in an organization around my areas of strengths, and then to begin building and expanding a work portfolio outside of the organization. And this, I think, is the most valuable thing about this reframe, the way it's geared me towards building this other sort of like body of work outside. And when I say work portfolio, I mean doing work activities that are in my sweet spot, that are my strengths, that are my unique contribution in different places. And essentially I'm doing things like I talk about diversifying my work portfolio and liberating my work. I'm not only known for my storytelling and public speaking coaching work in the organization I work in, but I'm building partnerships and picking up gigs, both paid and unpaid, outside that are giving me the opportunity to bring me more into that sweet spot of work. And this is how I believe you build your legacy and kind of build a bridge to other opportunities elsewhere. You know, you get known for your unique contribution. I'm becoming known for my unique contribution in more than one place. And you can do that too. You can become known for your unique contribution, not just in one place, but in all the places. And I want this for you because I want this reframe to sink in and open up your mind to all the ways that you can have an impact beyond your job in a way that is fully expansive and able to take on all that you have to bring. I want you to liberate your work so that it makes you portable and referable wherever you choose to go. What would happen if you thought of your work not as your job that you're in, the position that you hold, or the career that you've built from your many degrees or certificates? What if you thought of it as what you create? I tell you what it would do. It would make getting paid to be yourself every day of how you worked and experienced work. You would be purpose and mission-minded, not job-minded or career-led, just as Samuel Sarafel told us in episode 32, why you should work your way out of your job. And how do you look when you're operating like this? Well, you're not getting emotionally over-involved with job or office politics because your boundaries game will be tight, as I talked about in episode 20. You'll also be indistractable in chaos, as I talked about in episode 22. You won't be over-involved in making an organization better or for it to achieve its goals. You'll be focused on making your unique contribution wherever it is that you go, wherever it is that you're needed. You'll be a better partner. This idea means that your job is too small. It's only a temporary vehicle. This idea is going to help you be more concerned about your purpose than you are about your position. It's going to lead you and help you lead with your mission and why you're here. If you're that little girl on the beach and you've just given a sigh of relief because, now you know why you've been so frustrated. You've been trying to stuff your big ocean into a little bucket, but you don't have to do it anymore. You can take the more liberated path. You can run down to the water and jump in with both feet giggling into the water and swim out as far as you can and that you want. Because no matter how far you go, the ocean of your purpose has got room for you. Did you enjoy today's episode? Is there someone you know who needs to get this idea into their head that their real work is not their job or their career, but it's what they create? Then share this episode with them so that they can join us on this journey and join us in this reframe to learn how to work completely differently so that we can make our unique contribution in this world, leave a powerful legacy, all while getting paid to be ourselves. Follow Reframe to Create on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, or Stitcher. See you soon, Creating Maven. Until then, remember to always ask yourself, what will I create?